welcome to Friday. I feel terrible. I feel really, really bad. Over the last several days, I have not felt the greatest. I haven't had a good night's rest in a long time. Last night was the first night that I got 8 hours, and I had to force myself to get 8 hours because I woke up after having slept for like 5 hours, and my body's like, well, time to do that thing. And I'm like, no. And then I went back to bed for a few more hours. I've been extremely sore because of the driving. I drove 13 hours straight, and you do the same motion, and my back was hurting, my arms are hurting, my shoulders, my lower back. There's a lot of stuff that's just super sore from making the same motion for that long and being stuck in the car. And then finally, I've been waking up with headaches. I've been dizzy. I've just been feeling ill, and I think a lot of that may have to do with the food that we ate on our trip. Now, admittedly, we don't always eat the best stuff when we're traveling, but this trip in particular was the worst, I think, ever. We ate garbage for 7 days, and it's surprising when I look back and see the stuff that I ate. I'm like, man, I ate really, really poorly, and I think it plays with your body quite a bit. So now we're back home. We're not going anywhere for quite some time, and we're going to try and get adequate sleep, get in bed on time, eat right, and hopefully everything will start going back to normal, which is good. Anyway, so the agenda today is we're getting ready to mail out Mal's tulip painting because that auction has ended, and then we're going to probably get a bite of lunch, and then finally we're going to be coming back and working on Tropical Freeze because Tropical Freeze only has a few more episodes left. We need to finish that up because there's so many other things that we need to accomplish. We beat it. Oh yeah. Man, it was good. I had said the other day that I would give my thoughts on Tropical Freeze, and I do it at length, and I probably just ramble at the very end of the last episode of the series, but I'll talk about it a little bit briefly here. The game is phenomenal. The game was phenomenal from the beginning, and it continued to be phenomenal. And I really do feel like Tropical Freeze is probably the best Donkey Kong Country ever made. And I want to be very clear when I say that it is right up there with Donkey Kong Country 2. And I'm not saying that it's like Donkey Kong Country 2 is here, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze is up here. It's something that's very, very, very close. But I think like Tropical Freeze is probably a better game. Now, as far as like the design of the game and the levels and everything, it probably should be a better game anyway because game design has come a long way. It's had 20 years to mature, and there's a lot of things that it does correctly and it does right. It's a very fun game. There's a lot of things I like about it. The music is phenomenal. One of the things I talk about in the last episode is that there's a lot of remixes, which they need, which are great, but also some of the original music I feel like is not as memorable as some of the original music in Donkey Kong Country 2 was, but there's also a lot of tracks that are super memorable. So it's hard. It's really hard, but at the end of the day, I think Tropical Freeze, at least for me, is the best Donkey Kong Country game ever made. Yeah, strong opinions. And I had people discussing it over on that episode, so if you want to discuss it, you can go over there. If you want to talk about it here, you can as well, but I'm just really impressed. Really impressed. Especially, I think what I'm most impressed about is the fact that there's been 5 games now, 3 done by Rare, 2 done by Retro, and every single one of them have just been so phenomenal. Donkey Kong Country has had such a high success rate. Such a high success rate. There have been a lot of other game series that have had bunches of games in them, and some of them do consistently well, and then some of them, they do well, and then there's like a little spot in there. It's like, don't look at that one. The Sonic series has had a bunch of good games, and there's a bunch of games that's like, maybe not look at that one. There's other series like Uncharted, that have been consistently good, and this is the same type of thing. 5 games now, and they're all consistently enjoyable. I mean, if you want to branch out, you could probably say there's even more games in the series if you want to consider like Donkey Kong Land games or Donkey Kong 64, but for me, Donkey Kong Country is a series of 5 games. 1, 2, 3, Returns, and Tropical Freeze. But it was fantastic. Really fantastic. And it also just recently was put into like their, I don't know what they call it on the Wii U, but it's like the Million Sellers thing, so it's actually cheaper than ever. I think it's either 20 or $30. So if you are thinking about getting a Wii U, or you just got a Wii U and you're looking for a game, Tropical Freeze it's so good, has so much replay value. It's a very different experience between single player and multiplayer. So if you're playing single player, you're going to have a very different time than if you play with someone else. And there's a hard mode. I didn't unlock it, but I assume that there's a time attack mode. There's all this other stuff you could do. It's so good. And the music is great. The music is really good. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like knocking the original music, because David Wise did a fantastic job. I just felt like there was less stuff that was as memorable as there was in 2. But also nostalgia is playing a part in that as well. So, yeah. And you liked it.
Yeah, it was very fun.
2 or no, Tropical Freeze was great.
Yeah, it was. 2 is also great.
2 is also great. And you got to play as Dixie again.
Yes, Dixie's my favorite character to play as. That's why I like 2.
Yeah. And it was a similar thing. I mean, the mechanic works a little different, because in 2 you kind of float, and this one is kind of like
Yeah.
But still, God, such a good game. This was a great game. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, let's meet back tomorrow, shall we?